Meeting of the Carrabelle Community Redevelopment Agency. It's Tuesday, September the 20th, 2022, 1:30 p.m. We're conducting this meeting in the Carrabelle City Hall chambers, and thank you for silencing your phone. And actually, it's 1:32 p.m. Commissioner Millender, would you say a prayer for us? Sure. And then I'll lead in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together again on such a beautiful afternoon. Please hold your hand over us and guide us in the direction that we need to go for the betterment of our citizens here in the city of Carrabelle. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There she is.
Minor malfunction.
We good.
See if we can get those upstairs.
We're all right.
Okay, Ms. Keisha, would you do the roll call? Thank you.
All right, we have Ms. Chase Chisholm here, Commissioner Brown
Here.
Commissioner Allen is absent, Mayor LaPaz
Here.
Commissioner Walden, and Commissioner Millender.
Here.
And we also have our city administrator, CRA Director Courtney Dempsey, city clerk Keisha Messer, our city attorney, Mr. Hartman, and our city engineer, Mr. Russell Large, and the members of the public. We have Mr. Ray Messer, Ms. Tamara Allen, and Greg Christopherson. First on the agenda is approval of the August 16, 2022 CRA regular meeting minutes. Would someone like to entertain that?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, that motion is by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Millender. Is there any discussion on that item? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. All right, do we have public comment? This is public comment section of the meeting where the public can certainly speak on any item regarding the CRA district that is not on the agenda today. And there being no public comment, we'll move on to staff reports. The CRA Director.
Okay, our facade grants, the Moorings is closed out, so they're finished. We've paid them. 304 Highway 98. Mr. Skinner, he's changed his, from when he originally came in, he was going to remove the paint and repaint the siding that was already there. But since he's on a time crunch, he's changed his method and went ahead and put up new siding and painted it. And he's also doing the work himself instead of hiring a contractor because of the time limits there. He's making a push to get it done in the next week. So hopefully he's gonna have it all done, and if not, he'll just turn in what he has completed. So he's doing the work himself with some hired help, so he will have some labor costs and the materials, but he's probably gonna be about the same price as he was before coming in. But he's making progress. It looks good what he's done so far. Just hope he gets it finished. 305 Northwest 12th Street, I talked to the Pates yesterday. They are, other than a couple of pieces of soffit, they're done. So she'll be turning in her invoices and everything for payment by the end of the week. So they'll be complete by the end of the month. The progress and redesign of Duke Energy Communications, I emailed Mr. Collins last month in August, and I think it might have fell through the cracks, but he said that they had some redesign issues and that he would get on top of it. It's still not done.
They have marked the poles.
They have marked the poles.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stay on top of that. And if he hasn't been out there in a week or so, I'll email him again and let him know that it still hasn't been done. Sands Park recreational equipment replacement is We've got some other things that need to be done down there, but for the most part, it's complete. The playground equipment's been replaced, we've replaced the mulch. We've done the repairs to the pavilion and the painting and the pressure washing. So, for the most part, all of that's been taken care of. The lighting's been done down
It
there.
looks really good.
Messer Pavilion repairs are complete. Mr. Chester submitted the final invoice on that, and it looks real good. If y'all haven't seen it, it looks real good.
I did.
It stands out with the new paint job. And I do not have a report on him.
He came in earlier, I spoke to him. He said that the guy that was doing the plexiglass had COVID, and he was apparently a really bad case of it, and he couldn't even remember where they were at in the progress or anything. He's trying to get it completed by the end of the month, but he says it's not looking like it, and it may have to be something that gets pushed in that to the next budget year. So.
Which that was only a couple $100, I believe, about 500 or something. It wasn't a big expense. Any questions on those projects?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Courtney, and then we'll go on to the city attorney's report.
Just one item is the update to the plan. Completed a very rough draft. I've gotten input from Courtney and the chairman, and what I'll do is add in capital projects planned and completed from a historical perspective since the last update in 2020, but I think even there may be some updates from 19 and 18 as well. And then I'll circulate it, and everybody can take a look at it and get me any kind of final comments. But that'll let us incorporate what's happening right now in the budget into it.
Okay, did you have anything else, Mr. Hartman?
I do not.
Okay, does anyone have questions for the city attorney?
The deed transfer for the old water plant has been signed and recorded?
Yes, it has. So
All right, then I would expect then possibly for discussion and possible action, you'll be circulating the plan at least a week before the next commission meeting, hopefully.
Yes, I know I keep making promises, but it should be in the next 2 weeks.
Okay,
So from now,
and
so
I'll
it'll be well
work with
before.
Courtney on the projects as well, review what we've done.
Yes, I'll work
quite a
with Courtney
bit.
on that and run it back by everybody, including yourself.
Okay.
But,
And then then it will be on the agenda next month for discussion and possible action, or approval, possible approval. Okay, all right then. We'll move on to the CRA district. Thank you, Mr. Hartman. The CRA district landscape and maintenance report. Do we have anything this
Yeah,
month?
turn that on.
Good. I really don't have a lot to report. I mean, I was gonna ask you, I was in front of the wall where, the mural is. I talked to Dustin, he said you're talking about taking that bed out.
In the fall, when the weather gets cool, it's
Because
too
there's
hot.
5, of the purple muley grass there that we could use somewhere else.
Okay,
And I'm gonna get a Tallahassee tomorrow and I'll see if I can find, I think there's about 10 more that I need. But you'll start seeing, as long as it's dry, you're gonna start seeing some more of the, spray. I'll be spraying some more.
okay,
But, that's about it.
Just for discussion, Mayor.
okay.
Taking the plants out from the mural, are we talking about taking all of them out?
The crepe myrtles, I know we had discussed because they're, blocking the mural.
With the
And-
lower vegetation?
It
that's
might
Really
be
grass
landscaping?
would get high too, and it won't be visible from the road.
I know I see it very well, and I hate to lose the landscaping there. I don't want to block it, so I understand the method behind what we're discussing. But any landscaping vegetation we have there is just beautification. And
Yeah.
anything we could leave there, I think it's gonna look very void if we take everything out. That's just my thoughts. I don't know about everybody else.
And we could go with removal of the trees and hopefully they can be replanted. I think that's the city
You
had
can
somewhere
replant those, yes.
in the winter time when they're dormant. And take a look at it again in the spring and see how it looks before we remove any grasses. How about that before we?
Well, it's
Because-
just, it's up to the entire board, but that's just my thoughts, is to keep something there that looks nice.
Yeah, and I only had, thought about the trees because they're really blocking it, but that was, and eventually they'll grow up into the utility telephone wires up there eventually, so.
Well, a crepe myrtle can be trimmed back and made a bush out of. I have a large, I say a large one, it's a medium mulberry in my yard, and I could cut it off now a foot above the ground, and it's gonna sprout right back to
Right,
the
and
shower.
we certainly don't want it,
Yeah.
want it to be a bush there like that, so, and they do make good, big bushes. So,
Well, then you want me to just look at, not worrying about them and just put
Yeah.
Yeah,
five
don't worry
more?
about them right now.
Because I think there were 4 or 5 there.
Yeah.
Not just, okay.
It's just a thought before we take everything out, try to keep something there.
Yeah.
that looks nice.
And there is irrigation there.
But I know where there's some in the CRA that can be relocated.
Huh?
I know where there is some in the CRA district that can be relocated.
Gotcha.
You let me know and I'll
Okay.
do it.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Okay. Anything, anybody?
Do we have anything else?
Just a question, I noticed that, for Roadway, is that the name of that company? I noticed they were trimming the crepe myrtles along 98 a couple days ago. So they do that on top of what you do?
As far as I know, at one time you told me that's who done it. Was
Okay.
They do some trim treatment
As I
all
feel
along
like
98.
It's not,
It's hit or miss if they
Yeah.
get it, if they get
you
it.
can't count on them.
It is, you're right.
Like once a year maybe, yeah, they're not dependable.
Is that who went all the way out to Lanark?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yeah,
they
they were
did
just out here.
all along 98. It's way better.
But if you see any of these trimming, just, give a shout out like who did it.
All right,
Anything? All right.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
See you later.
All right.
Okay, we'll move on to new business, of which there is none today, and old business, no old business today, so we'll move on to Inovia Consulting Projects. And item 1, we have the Marine Street Revitalization Project Progress Report, and discussion and possible action if any changes.
Okay, the last notice has been published for the public comments deadline, which was September the 9th. And the environmental document has been submitted to DEO on September the 12th. This is by Fred Fox. And they expect that in October, we would receive the authority to use the federal funds. Of course, that's dependent on their review time, but right now it's looking like October we'll have that approval. So we'd be prepared to go to bid at that time. And regarding the fence on the seawall, the original cost that we had for just the repair part was about $9,000. Looking at the DOT picket style handrail, that would be $81,500. And that's based on the DOT historical cost history, plus added about 15% to cover inflation issues.
How much?
Quick,
81,500.
500, okay.
quick question there, Mr. Russell. I noticed where they're doing the bicycle path in Wakulla County, they're not doing the picket, they're doing the horizontal, I guess,
Right.
and I'm sure that's because of cost.
Not necessarily. Is that adjacent to a sidewalk?
The new bike path.
Oh, the bike path, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the vertical, you have to have more
Right,
labor and welding.
right.
The horizontal is just, and as far as the way they have their set up, it's close enough that nobody can climb through it. But it takes less labor, less cost, and probably less material than the,
Is it just the horizontal?
it is.
Okay.
But could you climb up it? Get over it? Like a
Um,
little
Yeah, you
Do
probably
you, do you recall what the drop off is from that point?
No.
2 feet, 3 feet?
No.
Okay.
It's just, from an engineer standpoint, that's the reason why I'm throwing it
Yeah.
at you. Might be more cost effective if it's feasible to do it that way.
Well, I'll go back and check, but I'm relatively confident that, if the drop off is more than 30 inches,
Wouldn't be able to do
you wouldn't
it.
be able to do that. Which this is obviously, I think it's more like
It's more than
6, 7, 8 feet.
Yeah, it's a good drop off, it's more than 30.
Right, and I think,
Scars from that drop-off.
I think to protect the city, I would still recommend the picket style.
Right.
But now, on the cost difference, went over that with Fred Fox, and he recommended that we bid that as an alternate, so it'd be like an additive alternate. And then let's go ahead and receive the bids, and there may be the opportunity to reallocate funds from a different category, which we've done that on the other grant programs through CDBG before. You know, from other items such as the gateway structure, which may not fit within the budget anyway, so we may be able to reallocate funds for that picket, to fund that picket style fence, which I would think would be a priority for the CRA. So there's a way to pay for it, is what I'm trying to say.
All right, then let's have a motion for that to accept this, well, let me think about it, the handrail proposal for 81.5, or approximately $82,000, as an alternate to this project.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, and so that motion is by Commissioner Miller, second by Commissioner Brown. Is there any further discussion? And yes, I would say that this would be something that would be a priority over the gateway feature that we have discussed.
Was that Millender and Brown?
Yes, Millender and Brown. All right, any further discussion on this one? Did you have anything else on it?
That's all on that item.
On this one, okay. All in favor? Any opposed? And then that motion carries. All right, we'll move to item 2, progress regarding the Southeast 5th Street, Southeast Avenue D paving change orders that have about 9 projects, and you know I've been asking
Yes.
about this. Okay.
So on the 9th Street resurfacing, we coordinated with the CEI group to process the change order, although the contractor hasn't seen it yet. So I'm gonna round back up with the CEI firm and make sure that happens one way or the other. I'll just make sure that happens. But the contractor is waiting for that to be approved.
So you're saying that
That's on 9th Street only.
okay, on 9th Street on.
Yes,
okay.
that's related to the erosion.
All right,
issue
all right,
there.
that's fine.
Okay, now on the rest of the projects, I've told you before that they're gonna be there to begin and then they don't show up. So I impressed upon the contractor that they need to get here and finish that work. So he told me today that he would be here either Thursday or Friday of this week to finish it. And if something happened and they can't make Thursday or Friday, that they'll definitely be here Monday.
Okay.
To
Now,
finish.
when they start, and I know we're really wanting them to get started even, you know, whatever. Now, Ryan Drive, although the folks out there are anxious for it, it's like Swiss cheese. That's funded through our log account, so there's really no deadline on that for like a fiscal year. We do want to be able to notify the downtown businesses on that parking place paving that's going to go on right next door to the businesses, you know, and the post office. We want to be able to The last time we had, this was in 11, major projects going on downtown. There was a couple of major complaints, even in the newspaper, written about it, that we didn't notify the public that there was gonna be construction going on around the post office, so we need to be able to, we could get it out on Oyster Radio quick enough, you know.
Facebook,
Yeah.
radio.
You know, if we have a 24-hour notice at least.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I could make a couple of phone calls to some of them that complain and give them
Right,
a
right.
personal notice.
Okay, well, I'll handle that by email and make sure we get a commitment from the contractor that he is coming on a date certain, so that that notice can be put out.
And,
When y'all find out, can you send all of us an email so we know, so we can let people know
Sure,
also?
yes.
Courtney and I were even worried if they're just not gonna do the work. Could that be possible?
No, and I talked to Tim Harold, he's
Yes.
the owner, so he committed, he was gonna get it done before the end of the month.
Okay,
And once he begins, he says it'll take him about 2 days.
all right, very good. Thank you. Do y'all have any other questions or comments on this item, this particular item?
You just answered my questions.
And then I believe, just Sabrina, if you wanted to tell people that we're getting, maybe next week, if, we'll get
I'll
back
wait
with
till
them
I
with a
hear
date
from
certain.
you guys,
That we
'cause-
can start kind of getting the word out so people expect it.
okay,
So if y'all are okay with that. If we could come back with a date certain, but you can tell people, hey, it looks like next week we're gonna be
Happening
doing
soon.
this work.
okay.
All right, and I guess we would need to notify them at the library as well, as their parking places are gonna be paid. Okay. All right, and on item 3, progress of the military flagpoles memorial at Veterans Park, discussion and possible action, any recommended changes?
Okay, we do have a updated exhibit here to show the additional flagpole. And so that's how that layout would work. We've sent this to the contractor who gave us pricing, and we're confirming he can do it within the budget remaining. So I'm still coordinating that with him, but the work is not substantially different, so I expect it will be within that budget. So I did want to share this with you because this was the updated layout with the additional flagpole.
Okay, would you send that out to us, Courtney, that drawing, that concept? And then Commissioner Millender, would you like to deliver the good news?
Oh, sure, I was
Okay.
waiting on you to do it.
Well, I mean, I'll let you do it.
We allocated the remaining money this morning, 25-3, to do the complete project.
Okay.
So we don't piecemeal, we don't, and we don't
I
have to go
see.
back and redo. He can do everything he needs to do in
I
sequence.
see. Okay.
That's for the
Great.
seat walls and the Pentagon.
Right. Okay. Great.
Well, yay.
That is good.
All right, so there's nothing else on that except to get her going? I mean, now, this is gonna have to be put to bid, no?
No,
Oh,
no, we received that.
all right, okay, right, all right. That's how we got it priced in 2 phases. Okay, then, I guess we'll see some groundbreaking or trees coming down or something.
Can we do like a groundbreaking ceremony? Because this has been,
Well, over a year and a half, yeah.
let's take some pictures.
We could.
Post it on Facebook, yeah.
The checkbook is broke.
With phones.
We had a groundbreaking when we first put it in.
Yeah.
I think we should do more stuff like that.
We haven't had anything like that. We had a groundbreaking for this building.
Yeah, we did.
Had a groundbreaking for Avenue B project. That was one big project over there.
And the parking lot down by the boat ramp, you had.
Yeah, we had a groundbreaking for that as well. So we'll see about having a groundbreaking, and it could happen before or after the trees come down, either way. So just kind of give us an idea
Okay.
on the mobilization.
make the rest. Thank you.
Item 4, report on your meeting with Mr. and Mrs. Oxendine regarding their description of stormwater drainage issues at 201 Northwest 11th Street.
Okay, Courtney and I met with Sean Oxendine on 13 September, and I completed the field visit there. Courtney, would you pull that exhibit? Yes. The other one. Okay. So we prepared a concept plan here. You're probably aware there's an existing head wall there with a pipe that extends over towards the river. It's completely silted in.
Where is that?
Okay.
Okay, you'll need your little pointer.
That head wall is right here. And the pipe, the direction of that pipe is in this direction.
Okay.
And it probably discharges somewhere, in this area, would be my guess. And I did walk around down here, it's just so thick, I just really couldn't find the end of that pipe. But my thought is that that existing pipe, if it can be cleaned out, the head wall itself is in good condition. And I think from what I can see of the pipe, it appears to be in good condition. So I think if we can clean that pipe out and utilize it the way it was intended to be used when it was put in, that is the low point that drains that area, and right now it doesn't drain at all. So my thought is to clean that pipe out. Churchwell has the equipment. They're out of Chipley, and they can perform that work. In fact, they performed some of the work for the city in the last several years.
He did the work up around in Mr. Walton's area over there.
Right. And I did speak with them. They did remember this particular pipe. They had cleaned out a portion of it and stopped. So I expect they'll be able to clean out the rest of it. It may take some effort, but I think they can do it. I know they can do it. All right, beyond that, what we would propose is a system of inlets and pipe along the east side of Ryan Drive. And I say inlets and pipe because the right-of-way there is being used. There's cars that park in it, there's driveways, and vehicles are using it. So to put a ditch there, I think would hinder the use of that area. So I think pipe and a ditch bottom inlet at certain locations would be the best way to do that. That way they can still use that area.
Okay, so and inlets are like baffle boxes, I guess, and you'd have a grate.
With a grate top.
Right. And then pipes are connected to it underneath.
Right.
And where would that begin?
Okay.
Where would it start to collect water?
Close to the intersection with Ave B. So here, and probably another one. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay, so I think that would, I see it a lot. I see the water and the drainage happening there a lot. But when there's water coming around off of just the middle of that first block there, where the hill peaks, so it's coming down. So it's going to be able to come down that gutter that's there and come into. You'll put an inlet up that way.
We'll either. We'll either direct it from that gutter line to this inlet, or we'll install a curb inlet along that edge. One way or the other, we'll capture that flow that's coming down the gutter and get it in the system. And then discharge to the head wall here, probably put in another head wall, keep it open. And then connect it back out to the river. This property is state of Florida property, so
Permitting?
I don't know if there's an easement there already. We may have to do this.
I just got a call end of last week, somebody want to build on that triangle piece.
That.
Yes. Or there was one, but it must be up for sale, and they was asking if it was buildable. And
Is it?
I mean, I strongly discourage them because, I mean, it just slopes straight down. I don't know that we could tell them they couldn't build on it because commercial does not have setbacks other than the 25 feet in the front.
It's so tiny though.
So they, I mean, they could get creative if they wanted to, if somebody really wanted to, but they would have to build pretty high and put pilings in. So that was my concern about pipe in the ground.
Okay, well, I'm making an assumption about where this pipe is. I really don't know. It could be on that property. I don't know. But when Churchville does their work, they'll be able to locate that for us.
Okay.
Now, if the pipe's already in, we wouldn't have to have it permitted, right? Because it's already installed.
That's what I would say.
But
You're just cleaning.
We're just
Maintaining.
cleaning this maintenance, right? You don't need a permit for maintenance.
what about putting more water?
We're not. We wouldn't be putting more water. It's the same amount.
Okay, supposed to be the same amount,
Right.
yeah, okay,
Putting a pipe instead of,
all right.
Now, his flooding area is here.
Mhm.
And that's really an on-site issue. I mean, he can correct that or not, it's his property.
He did kind of acknowledge that he knew that was his issue there.
Yeah,
Right. But we can at least keep, the roadway drainage from coming over to the center line,
okay,
getting
all
on
right.
his property.
And what about, was Ms. Oxendine present? Does she understand that flooding that's going in there is their issue?
We didn't speak with Ms. Oxendine, we only spoke with
Okay.
Mr. Oxendine. He met us outside and gave us the tour and told us all the issues that he was having, and we walked up and down the roadway here, and we never spoke with her.
All right. Do you by any chance then have an estimate on
I
that? Just an estimate, not, and then a scope? Okay.
I was hoping we'd get past that, I'm afraid to hear.
I know.
Well,
Yeah.
no, but this is gonna be a good learning
I'm
lesson
just kidding.
for us. This is the way we understand how much money we need to put to stormwater,
Exactly.
and so there you see, and,
So our estimate with a 15% contingency came out to 127,000, so I say 130,000. And that includes the survey and design and permitting, if necessary. So that's some total to complete the project.
all right, now let me ask the board, this is a good example, an excellent example, and, we don't have the money in the CRA to do this. We might be able to scrounge up, 50 or 60, or not do the water plant, or whatever, the different, something. No murals or something, but I don't think we can, I just don't know if we can come up with that amount of money. What do you think, Courtney, in the CRA budget?
Not as it is, not as it stands.
Well, we can
So,
pull from a couple different pots.
well, you can't do stormwater with log, but you can go,
No.
but the American Rescue Plan. And we have some money in the American Rescue Plan for stormwater. And I say some because I feel, like it's not really enough to do any kind of stormwater management, really. So you want to defer this to the American Rescue Plan?
Well, I think,
I think it, exactly. But I think we can pull from a couple different pots there and fund it, not all of it out of one pot. And the American Rescue Plan may be a part of it.
And then what other, where
I don't
else?
know, that's
I
what
know
I'm
it.
just listening to.
Can we use some of the CARES Act? There's the 30.
You could, I mean, and so, we think 33,000 is a lot of money, but it's not when you're looking at that.
That's
So, I mean, you could put your CARES Act money to that, the 33,000 that's left, and another 100 out of the American Rescue Plan. But we need to, really reconsider what we're putting into stormwater, management for the city on that pot that we just
This is
discussed.
probably the biggest stormwater problem.
Well, now, the culvert, but the Ryan Drive culvert was pretty expensive as well. It was just over, and that wasn't really, well, it is stormwater management.
Yeah.
But roadway, it was a roadway issue and stormwater.
We had put enough money in for the stormwater.
We didn't put enough money in it, in that American Rescue Plan. We're gonna have to go back and rethink that.
We might have to.
Mhm.
This is a problem that's been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
It needs to be taken care of.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
Let me suggest one thing. We talked about it, I say we as the city, 15 years ago, probably. But I have been working on these elsewhere and getting kind of back up to speed. And the residents or citizens of the city sometimes, obviously, this may not be this is a midterm, long-term thing. It's called a stormwater utility. Okay, so a lot of cities will set those, like Russell's familiar with, is a small, when I say small, but relatively small charge on, for instance, City of Tallahassee puts it on their utility bills, other folks can put it on their ad valorem tax bills, and it would, it's in the nature of like an MSBU. Sort of, I don't know, well, but bottom line is, it's a charge for city residents. It's not a lot of money, but it accumulates because it's, it's charged, and gosh, I hate to say this one, sometimes it's charged to everyone who owns a piece of property, right? So it's gonna show up on your tax bill, vacant lot, approved lot, that sort of thing. But you do, basically like we do for CRA, you find a necessity for it, you do a little bit of financial modeling, and then you put it in place. There's a statutory structure, you put it in place, and it builds up money over time, and just it gives you another pot of money to stay on top of and resolve stormwater issues instead of sort of what we're talking about now, which is how we've done it. Most places have done it. Most places still do it historically, but you're kind of begging Peter to pay Paul. It's not a dedicated source. You're saying, oh, we might have to do less over here on a totally unrelated thing to drum up money for a stormwater, an acute problem on stormwater, some facilities that have failed or maintenance that was deferred, that sort of thing. So stormwater utility could be something to consider.
And that could be like as small as a $20 charge a year on the tax bill,
Yep.
similar to an MSBU.
Yep.
Charge $20 to $10.
And again, some people who, for instance, have been able to stack their homestead exemptions or something where they don't pay, property tax, well, they would have to pay this. So I mean, all the city residents would be kind of shouldering that
Property
burden.
owners.
Property owners, yep, sorry, that's right, not residents, but all property owners in the city.
Now, we're having a vulnerability assessment done. Would that help to justify something like this?
It would, because obviously part of the problem, what creates a lot of this or makes it, either creates it or brings it to the front is because things are developing, right? So maybe a flooded area that wasn't highly populated, people don't worry about, or because the people are paving and building, it creates more stormwater. So that's exactly right. I think that would be absolutely information that could be used in the finding of necessity for a stormwater utility. But I mean, honestly, with our city being been around a long time now, I remember the Baskerville-Donovan study that was done, which is all the way back in '06. And obviously we deal with a lot of stormwater, but we have the benefit of sending most of it to the river or the ocean or the bay. As Russell's informed me many times, you cannot flood the river, you cannot flood the bay. So we're in a better position than some places in Florida where you can't get rid of the water. You gotta dig, you gotta create large holding areas or something else, so.
We could try to flood the river and the bay.
We'll give it, yeah, we'll try hard, we'll dry everything out.
So if we get a hurricane, it floods it.
Yeah, true.
And then it comes back on us.
Yeah.
All right, then.
Sorry, I should
Okay.
add one more caveat here. That pipe is going to need some periodic maintenance forever. So maybe once a year it gets blown out just to make sure it's clear of the sediment so that it doesn't silt up again. So that may be an annual issue that we would have to do to the tune of maybe $3,000 annually.
And that we should bring.
Somebody.
And Churchwell could do that.
They can.
He did some of the culverts over on Welborn, and then he did some over on, I think it was 8th Street, the long one that comes across there on 8th Street. So he's been here and done some work on some of our branch culverts.
Do you think that Churchwell could clean that big baffle box that holds 3 people inside over there by the, that Susan McConnell did with our with our biotension cell there, Northwest Florida Water Management Grant? There's a big, I'm gonna say it's probably a 12 by 8 or bigger baffle box there. It's got metal doors that open up and
Where is it?
huge filters in there, and you get down inside of it. You know,
And it
clean out.
collects the sediment? Yeah.
Yes, and that hasn't been done since that project was built
Okay.
over there. And that's over by the fish cleaning station and restroom on Marine Street.
I think they have the equipment to do that. Really, you just need a vac truck for that. Does Charlie have a vacuum truck? Okay.
And that really needs to be cleaned out. The last time I saw Susan, she asked me, have we done it? And I said, no, it needs to be cleaned once a year.
Okay.
That was the instructions.
Okay. Charlie may have someone that he uses, with a vacuum truck who can do that. That's more local than Churchwell.
And then there's a pipe coming out of the middle of that retention cell. There's a big head wall in there, stainless steel. Big pipe that goes down Marine Street, the middle, and turns and goes to that baffle box. What about that pipe?
Now that would be Churchwell. And then
Okay.
if we know that it's got sediment in it.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
The retention cell is working good
Okay.
right
Does it have a ladder?
I
Take
believe
bottom
so.
out.
Yes, I've got pictures of the inside of it.
Okay.
Yes, 3 people can get in there easy.
Well, probably only 2 now, it's probably half full.
Okay.
I'm just curious if we can see the pipe to know that if it's
Oh,
silted up as
I'll take a
well.
look at my pictures and see. I've got pictures of the whole installation.
If it's just a box, then a vacuum truck can access that easily. If it's the pipe, then that's something Churchwell would need to do.
Okay. All right, so we need to get back to this. I'm
I just have
sorry.
one curious question. You mentioned that the pipe that runs to the river under Ryan Drive, that they cleaned on it once before and they stopped.
Right.
Do you know why?
I don't know, I think,
Dustin
You-
said he got to the center of the road and he wouldn't really go any further and he didn't want to push it because he was scared it was gonna collapse the road. But then that's when we talked to Russell, and he said if he looked at it and looked like the pipe looked like it was in good shape, that he thought that was a chance that we probably could take.
Would
Yeah.
he put a scope down there?
right, yes, they have a camera on all their stuff, so they can see.
That's part of the job, he'll scope it out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then if he scopes it out and finds that he can't go any further, we're still in the same boat.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. In that case, we may have to install a pipe or replace the pipe. I don't know if that would be considered maintenance or not.
And that's a whole nother can of worms.
It could be, but, it can be engineered and permitted. It
So
just
that's
take a little
what-
time.
But that's what it's all about.
All right.
But so you then start the project with cleaning out this pipe, researching, seeing what's happening there before we even.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And he would have went further, but he wouldn't go further without us telling him to, and Dustin and I weren't comfortable.
Okay.
If Russell tells me it
If
looks
he's
good,
here,
and
I'll sit in the van with him and we'll watch the monitor.
And then, now, the Oxendines know they have flooding down in there between those 2 buildings and their bathroom floods. They understand that flooding is coming off of that pervious, off those rooftops they have over there. That's what's causing that flooding. and then they're higher back in the back a little bit, it all comes down in there in that hole, and they should have built Untitled.
Yeah, so what this project would do,
Okay.
so let's say, for example, right now, without that water being collected, that's flowing onto their property, they may get flooded out during a 5-year event. So what this project would do is to intercept some of that flow. So maybe now they get flooded out in the 25-year event. They'll still get flooded out,
But they're gonna get.
just maybe not as often.
But they'll have standing water coming off their own rooftops.
Right.
Collecting, somebody needs to let them know about that. Okay. Oh, me. Do we want to refer this then to, the commission is handling the American Rescue Plan, and we can refer it to that and let them put this on our commission agenda and approve it for funding next October meeting?
I think so, but I think the first step is to make sure that we can get through that pipe.
Yeah, we can go ahead and do that independent of
Yeah.
anything else.
That's relatively inexpensive. From what he's charged us to do the other ones, it's not a major expense.
Well,
We're
it's
talking
not-
about maybe $3,500 or something.
That's the thing, is we need to know that we can get through
Right,
that pipe.
before you
If we
do
don't
the
know
rest
we can
of
get
it.
through that pipe, then we don't have to approach it in a different way.
Do we need a motion?
Yes, but what I want to say now, since we're well deep into this discussion, public meeting, this meeting's been advertised, it's going to be posted one of these days on YouTube. Is there any other discussion? So I'm going to ask for this to be referred to the October 6th meeting agenda for us to have discussion and possible action regarding funding this project from the American Rescue Plan. But let's have our discussion now, so that we don't have to rehash all of this at the October 6th meeting. Is that okay? I mean, just like Commissioner Melander and I had said, we want to make sure this pipe crossing under Ryan Drive is usable and permittable if it needs permits or whatever, or if we've got to build more. But all of that, we need to, I know you know that as well, before we do any kind of construction going north.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
But can y'all think of anything else?
When the water coming down Avenue B to the west toward Ryan Drive, is your plan to catch that water?
Yes, yeah, and to collect it in this system.
Are you gonna have to put any kind of swell or anything right there close to the intersection? Close to, let's just hypothetically say right there at the stop sign to defer that water over?
No, my thought is that worst case, we would put a curb inlet on the south side of the curb. So it would catch that gutter flow that's in the south, it's in the southern gutter. That the water that's in the northern gutter, my thought is to let that continue to go.
It goes to the water that's on the north side over there. It goes to the north. It flows to the north. The road has a crown, so that all that water flows to each curb and gutter. And so on the north side, and I've seen it so many times, it's coming out, it's coming off and flowing to the north. Or if it comes off, it's flowing across the street on the other side. It's not coming off on the north side of that Avenue B and then turning and coming then south. It's not doing that. Is that correct, Greg? Greg has seen it. We've been out there many times when we have a flash flood. And we go out there and watch the flooding. Yes, sir.
You had some concern about the location of that head wall on the other side of the road, whether that's on private property or not? Is that?
Now, the head wall on Ryan Drive, that's in public right-of-way.
Right, but then on this, on the west side of Ryan?
Yeah, well, I don't know exactly where that
Well,
pipe
I'm just
is.
looking online, and it's about 75 feet from the pavement to the property line of that triangle where she's saying somebody wants to build, so if it's within
Yeah.
that would be then
Yeah,
in the DOT, or the TF.
right, and that's kind of what the concept plan there shows, yeah.
Do you recall, when that drain is plugged on, the way you're talking, does any of that water, I don't remember, I know I used to see it coming from the north and going across onto Oxendines, but I'm wondering if you blew out that line, would that help maybe some water that's been backing up and going across too? You know, or does it ever do that? Does the water ever back up in that thing and then flow across this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, from what I can tell, the profile right there is so flat in that whole section that even if it was opened up, it's probably piling up and going over the center line anyway.
Yeah.
You know, the driveway, that southernmost driveway, I think that
It's
kind of
higher,
acts as a
yeah.
block. Right.
All right, folks, do we have any further discussion on this? Any further discussion? All right, then, who wants to make the motion to refer this to the October 6th commission meeting agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, all right.
I'll
Quit twisting his arm. Okay, so Mr. Keith is, Commissioner Walden is making that motion to refer this item to the October 6th commission meeting agenda, and that's second by Commissioner Melander. Is there any further discussion? Okay, and then we'll just want to have that up on the screen for the October 6th meeting. We have very brief description from, okay, thank you. All right, so all in favor? Any opposed? And that motion carries. Okay, and this was a good learning lesson for us. Thank you. All right, number 5, item 5, report on roadway repair needs on Gray Avenue between Barefoot Lane and Northeast 12th Street. Okay.
Okay, there's some relatively new technology out there. It's been around for a while. It's been used plenty of times on cases just like this, where there's a void under the pavement that's resulted in the pavement having basically a divot in it. It's called grout compaction, and the way it works is there's a series of injection points. It's basically a rod that's placed, a number of rods that's placed, and there's a very liquid grout material that's pressure pumped into the soil, and you don't want to put too much pressure on it because you don't want the pavement to heave. So it's some pressure but not too much, and that grout then makes its way to the void, fills up the void, and then they can actually repair that spot, and it would discontinue to fall. Grout compaction. Now the way they used to do it is they would just start pumping in grout, and the company that there's 2 companies in Florida that do the work, and they charge based on the amount of grout that they pump. So and the price of grout changes. One company uses typical grout, another company uses a chemical grout. So when grout's expensive, they'll use the chemical grout, or vice versa. Along with that technology, what I would propose, and I went over this with our geotechnical sub-consultant, is to have the geotechnical consultant come in and do a ground penetrating radar in that area, and that will actually show where the void is. They can get a better location of where the void is, so that when the grout compaction is done, it's at a specific location, so they're not wasting grout. So that would be my recommendation for this location, is to first do the ground penetrating radar see what the void is, how big it is, what it is. And then develop a plan to come back with the grout compaction.
How many spots did you look at, Mr. Russell?
There was one that I noticed in particular. There's two? Three? Okay,
There's at least two. There's at least two, I know for sure.
okay.
And at one time, you had mentioned, or maybe Keisha mentioned, that if there was an old water line or something.
Sewer main?
Yeah, sewer main.
Yep.
Hey,
Have-
I didn't know if you had had the opportunity to talk with Charlie about that, or Justin.
I did some time ago
Okay.
about that. I do recall that now. But this technology would still apply
Okay.
for this case.
Well, we do have funding in the CRA budget, you know, for next year coming up for maintenance and repair. I'm not looking at next year's budget, but I know we do. This could go under maintenance and repair. It could even come out of our log account if, you know, necessary, because it is roadway. If y'all are interested, and we know we're gonna have more traffic over there if this other subdivision thing comes through. So if you're interested, we could have a motion for Russell to contract with the geotechnical consultant to come on out and do that ground penetrating radar. And do you need to point out to Courtney or you know, Russell, it doesn't matter to me if you go over there and show him your 3 spots, you know, make sure.
Yeah, I'd be glad to, but there's 3 of them there.
Okay. All right, I'll make sure I know where they are. If I have a problem, I'll call you.
Okay, all right, that's fine with me. So is that all right then? We want to go ahead and let him start working on the geotechnical aspect. That way we can get a good quote on what it's going to cost.
Do we need a motion?
Mhm.
I will make a motion for Russell to get started on the ground penetrating radar.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, that motion is by Commissioner Brown, second by Ms. Chisholm. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? And the motion carries. All right, we thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
look forward to seeing you at our commission meeting. Okay.
Me too.
All right, thank you. Glad to see you. Our CRA board projects, and item 1 is discussion and possible action regarding the CRA expense to budget report. And that was completed using Miranda's year-to-date report that she circulated to all of you. And you see we still have quite a bit outstanding in our budget, 396 outstanding, yes, $396,000, 580. And but we've got a lot of projects that still need to close out, like our 2 facade grants and our all that paving. And then we had set aside some $25,000 that we are not using this year for the match to the CDBG grant. So, I mean, there's quite a bit still that hasn't funded. And we'll just have to, street signs, we had $45,000, hasn't light cleanup, so we'll be carrying forward some monies. I do want to call your attention that so far we've spent, and this year, right at $5,000, $4,941 on the Flagpole Memorial. And now we're going to get started. And last year we purchased the flagpoles. I think we have 10 or 12,000 in that. So, you know, we're already 18 or 20 in that project. So it's not going to be an inexpensive project. So it does deserve a groundbreaking at least. All right. So do we have any other comments on the expense to budget? Questions, comments?
The only thing is what you mentioned,
if, especially these road paving projects can be completed, that'll consume some of that. And if we can get most of those things that are on there already that need to be completed, I know the time's short,
It is.
very short, so.
And Courtney's done a good job lighting a fire on the 2 facade grants, and the other one is closing up this week. And they both look very good. If y'all get a chance, ride out and take a look at them. So mainly, the main thing is the surfacing. That's where the money is. All right, so we'll then move on to item 2, discussion of possible action regarding hiring a CRA employee.
I was asked to put this on the agenda so that we could discuss hiring a full-time CRA employee. We budgeted for it. But do we want to have discussion?
So am
I'm for it. I'm for it as well. You know, it's a huge district, and if we try to go out to bid on that, we might end up having to pay more than.
He can't do it, what?
Oh, no, we would have to go out to bid for a professional crew
It's
to
got
come
too
in.
big.
Mhm.
If one person do all that. He needs to
Yeah, he would have a.
I'm Florida.
To replace it.
Yes, this would be replacing Mr. Messer.
Right, the
So
whole.
we would use
the
his
whole
salary
district.
and whatever else we needed to hire a full-time employee.
What did we estimate that would cost?
I think we put 100,000 in there for the first year. I don't have it in front of me. I believe it was 100,000, and that was to get the equipment and get them started, and then the employee himself.
At $13 an hour, they would make their annual salary would be $27,040. $13.50, their total annual salary would be $28,080. And at 14, I just went ahead and threw 14 in there, would be $29,120. But the total loaded labor cost would be $47,128, or $48,441, or $49,820. These folks, this person should be able to get to, one of the qualifications should be that they can get DOC certified, or is it what's it called, non-DOC? Certified to manage inmates, where they could get 1 or 2 inmates. So now you're going to have a crew. You're going to have the employee with at least 1 more or 2 more inmates. A crew that's working 40 hours a week. And we should be able to get, I mean, our regular city streets and parks and everything look much better than what's happening in the CRA district right now. In the CRA district, that is to, you're supposed to use those funds to uplift the CRA district, and all the projects in there should be enhancing what the city does. So we should, you know, and I feel like if we could get a crew out there 40 hours a week of 2 human beings or 3, that we could definitely, yes, we could get a lot of work done. It's going to cost some money on the startup cost. I think somebody had mentioned that we would purchase a used vehicle from the Streets and Roads.
That's what we budgeted for. Dustin was needing a more heavy-duty truck to pull the dump trailer, so we budgeted Dustin a new truck, and then we would sell one of his vehicles to the CRA.
Which is in good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of the vehicles are in good shape.
Yeah, very good.
And then, you know, I had a lot of money for a dump trailer. I didn't know exactly what a trailer would cost, but I think Dustin said he had a used trailer he could donate instead of selling it for surplus.
Yes.
So, you know, now, someone might be concerned that $14 or $13 an hour isn't enough. But we have to consider that the city of Carrabelle and its CRA, if you had employees, would be, they have very good benefits. The city of Carrabelle employees and the CRA would have very good benefits, and they have a good vacation program, a good holiday program, a good retirement, and insurances, the health insurance, you can't beat it anywhere in this part of Florida, the health insurance that's provided to the city employees. And that's a major benefit that I think helps them stay on board as long as they do. So, but I'm for it. I would like to give it a chance. This is the second go-round with the contractor. The first one was very good to begin with, but it became hard for Ms. Courtney to manage. And so I just think that it's a big job. It's a big job, and it needs a crew, a regular 40-hour-a-week crew. So,
You don't have to say on me.
okay, all right,
I'm good.
okay.
I actually had mentioned it 2-3 years ago.
I think I brought this up when I was on
Yeah.
the old city hall.
It didn't, in the beginning, it seemed, well, the district was so small, it really didn't justify full-time, and it was hard
Yeah,
to
that's
keep.
before you was paying.
Yeah, but definitely, I mean, a full-time employee.
So we need,
I don't,
So do we need to do the, modify the CRA employee description? Is that something we need to get the HR board in for?
well, we've got that. Have you reviewed the specifications
For what?
for the CRA contractor?
I
The
read
CRA
Mr.
contractor.
Ray's contract.
Right, and there's specifications you read, like there's like 10 pages or 15 pages, yeah. That could be reviewed by the board that does our, with Mr. Magnan, that does our job descriptions. You could take that and have that board review it and modify it to make it include items that our employees have as well. But all of those items, I mean, that's detailed. I mean, you know, blowing the street, blowing the sidewalks, cleaning the gutters, cleaning the curbs, weed eating out of every crack in every sidewalk, which is not being done now. That still needs to stay in there because that is enhanced services to that CRA district that the rest of the city is not getting. And that's, you know, what we had contracted for. So,
And we would need to expand it to include
the new area as well. But I think we have all agreed that we don't want to put any more landscaping because it's very
this
expensive.
is hard, this sand, it's hard.
Yeah, and the irrigation, the CRA pays the water, you write the water bill for or sign the check. It's very expensive.
Would Dustin still be the supervisor?
I think the person could work under Courtney and Dustin. Dustin, Courtney administrative, and Dustin could be out on the street to answer questions. Now, the streets and roads still mows the right-of-ways. They mow the right-of-ways in the CRA district, the core CRA district. And streets and roads could still mow the right-of-ways, or, you know, we can see how it, you know, how it works out.
Justin can manage all that.
Yeah. And the cemetery, where Mr. Hartman has put the cemetery in the plan as well. And as long as it's in the plan, then the CRA district can help that part that's in the,
South side.
yes, in the CRA district.
And the new cemetery would be.
Right.
Yes.
So that can happen. And if you try to put all of that out to bid to a regular contracting, yeah, and you'd have to reach out to Tallahassee or something to try to find someone like that. So, yes, I don't see a problem. Do y'all see any issue with having the board review? I don't think so.
I find the position is gonna be almost a carbon copy of streets and roads with the exception of the CRA.
Just it's enhanced.
Added, enhanced work. And I really think Dustin's gonna be the person that's gonna be the primary supervisor. That's just my opinion.
The Redevelopment Association says, you know, on your CRA, a district, that the city still is not relinquished from its duties of things that you should provide in the city, like street lights and help to mow the right-of-ways, or, you know, the city still has responsibilities in the CRA district, so CRA districts, the funding there just enhances services and to lift up and to clean the light, and that.
So
that's
this employee will be on probation for a year.
I would think.
So if he's not doing the job, or she, well, I don't think it'd be a female, because they gotta supervise inmates, but you can terminate them.
Yeah,
And start all over with a new employee, but let's hope we can get the right employee
Yeah.
the first time.
so, but, do we need a motion for this?
I think it's just discussion unless anybody else has anything else they have in mind.
When does Mr. Ray's contract end?
We can give him a notice. I don't have it right in front of me, but I did read it.
He signed it, it's 30 days, he signed it in October, so it would end in October. I could have brought it with me, I've got it at home, but he sure did sign it like mid-October, so I think now would be a good time to go ahead and just, and to provide a notice. And I think there's a clause in there where he might work on a month-to-month basis, if he wants to, and if the city or CRA wants him to, until we can get someone in place. You know, that's not, you know, he doesn't have to, but if we wanted him to, you know, that's all, that's up to this board.
Now, that's my thinking, is to keep him on a basis,
Month to month.
month to month, or
Mhm.
until we get settled in. Yeah.
We can't even order the equipment till first October.
No, but we could go ahead and advertise,
Yeah.
but we need to let Mr. Messer know before we
Sure.
advertise.
We
Exactly.
need a proper job description too, right?
And Mr. Hartman, would we advertise in-house, or is this a separate, kind of a separate position?
It is a separate new position that we're funding. Well, let me ask this, I mean, we do this sometimes where we advertise, and actually, this is a city position funded by the CRA, or is it a CRA position?
CRA position funded by the CRA.
Yep, so I would say that we don't have anybody in-house other than Courtney. So I guess we would advertise it in the paper.
Okay. All right.
And if we have someone, I mean, if that's the question, is there someone that might want to move over
I
there?
have no
or something,
idea.
Then we could certainly, as far as the requirements for the job, we could show preference to people with that experience, right?
Let me ask a question about that, man. For the state of Florida, when I advertised the position to the public, even my current employees could apply for that position.
Absolutely.
The only time that it was restricted was when you advertised in-house only.
Right, so yes, advertising out-house, advertising in the paper.
Correct.
Anybody can apply,
Yes.
so it would be in-house folks.
Even an employee.
Even employee.
Yeah,
But the
so-
thing is, since why I'm making that distinction is, it's not a city position. So when we talk about advertising in-house,
We only,
Yeah.
Courtney's are only
in-house CRA.
Courtney's not paid for this.
Well, then I'll just
Yeah.
excuse myself.
Yeah, and Miranda too.
Yeah.
Miranda and Keisha. Okay, so what we'll do is on the October 6th agenda, we're going to load that agenda up. We'll have an item on there that talks, that requests to open up the HR board, to have them convene the HR board to review that job description and make it more fitting to a regular 40-hour employee instead of a contractor. But all of the duties and assignments would still remain the same, but they would have the guidelines and requirements that fall in place that are the same as the city employees have.
We
Is that
did the
okay?
same format.
Yeah, all right, okay. So we'll have that as an item on the October 6th agenda to have possible action on that, to reconvene HR committee. All right, do we need anything else?
You had mentioned salary.
Oh, yes, we need to figure that out, but would we,
Could the HR board give us their opinion?
we could, that's what I was about to say, we could.
In my opinion, it will fall right in line with streets and roads.
Yes.
And maybe
There
depending
should
on
be,
experience.
they're all gonna be doing the same similar job.
Yeah, make the same, yeah.
That's what I feel like, that's where we came up with the 1350, you know, in there, something like that. And we do know that they get
We
it,
get those increases, yep.
and they get the incentive
That's right.
for handling inmates.
Yes.
And that would be the same thing here, they get an incentive pay for handling inmates. So, and that's what we want, is someone that is certifiable.
Gotta have it.
Yeah.
Get those inmates.
Okay.
Good luck with that.
Yeah,
That's a tough job in itself.
I know it.
Keeping those guys smuggling drugs and cigarettes, whatever else, cell phones.
Do we need a motion for any of this?
I don't think so. Do y'all think we need a motion to, Mr. Hartman?
I do not, because it's coming, we'll actually write it up and it'll come back for approval.
Okay, and yes, the 1350, you know, somewhere in there, plus the incentive pay should be competitive, and that would be, that's right in line with what our folks are making now. All right then, do we have anything else? Any other items that need to be reviewed or discussed here? I will remind you that our October 19th is our next CRA meeting, October 19th. And is there anything else?
I will not be at that.
Okay.
You said October,
19th,
that is a Wednesday?
I don't know what day it is that right?
It is a
Tuesday.
Wednesday. It should be, 18th is a Tuesday.
October 18th.
Yes, 18th, that's when I fly
That must
back.
be a typo.
I will be at the Tallahassee.
I'm glad I didn't put it on Facebook, somebody would have
Oh, no.
figured it out. So October the 18th, y'all, I'm thinking about maybe asking to not have a meeting in December, but we
We
can just think
usually
about it.
don't.
Well.
That pretty well sealed that deal.
We didn't last year.
Or the year before.
Yeah. So,
I'm okay with that, because it's my birthday.
but we'll see.
Oh.
I just want to put that in your head for a minute. So,
Need a motion?
we need a motion to adjourn if
I'll
we're
make that
finished.
motion to
Okay.
adjourn this meeting.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Good.
Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. All right, thank you very much. Russell's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah.